on Sunday in Kansas City, folks, where the number 4 seed Texans will square off against the number 2 seed Chiefs. That before as loud a crowd as there is in the NFL at Arrowhead Stadium. The forecast in Kansas City, cloudy and cold with temperatures in the 30s.
Well, there's Patrick Mahomes, the 2018 MVP of the NFL. Week 6, they lost to Houston and Deshaun Watson 31-24. Revenge is on his mind.
J.J. Watt, the inspirational leader for the Houston Texans, came back from IR last week and had a big sack in their big comeback victory over Buffalo.
There's Deshaun Watson, has been Mr. Clutch with 6 game-winning drives. Today, he may need one more to get past the Chiefs.
Word to the wise for the Texans. Somebody better cover Travis Kelce. 4 straight seasons of 1,000 yards receiving. He's going to have a big day today.
And hello, everyone. I'm James Brown. Welcome to a special playoff edition of the NFL Today, powered by Ram Trucks. Yesterday, Jimmy G and the Niners validated their number 1 seed as they knocked off the Vikings in the early game. But the big story came out of Baltimore as Derrick Henry and the Titans continued to roll. This time, they stunned everyone but themselves as they soundly defeated Lamar Jackson and the top seed Ravens. Later today, Lambeau Field will be chilly, but Aaron Rodgers and the Packers will need a lot more to cool down Russell Wilson and the Seahawks, who are coming off of last week's big win over the Eagles. First, a matchup as spicy as some good Kansas City barbecue. It's 2 of the best young signal callers in the game, Deshaun Watson of the Texans against Patrick Mahomes of the Chiefs. A spot in the AFC Championship game is on the line. And here is a look at the NFC playoff bracket. By virtue of their win over the Vikings, the Niners advance to the conference title game, where they'll host the winner of today's Seahawks-Packers showdown. Over in the AFC, with their upset of the top seed Ravens, the 6 seed Titans advanced. They'll play the winner of the Houston-KC matchup in the AFC Championship game next Sunday. So, folks, it is all on the line for the Texans and the Chiefs, and it promises to be a great one.
I'm going for greatness.
How great do you want to be?
When the ball comes your way, you make a play.
J.J. Watt. Cut by Nuke.
I'm going for greatness.
The magician does it again.
Let's be great today.
Welcome again to the Magic Show.
Kansas City continues to roll.
The Chiefs, the 2 seed.
You're gonna buy, man.
They've come all the way back.
Beat down by the Chiefs.
The Chiefs defense continues to be superb.
The Texans are really peaking.
How about those?
All right, folks, and here at the desk, you know what, Phil, I actually am feeling pretty good, like James Brown would say. As a matter of fact, and
Looking
so,
good.
As my colleagues are just as fired up. Phil Simms, Boomer Esiason, Nate Burleson, and especially feeling good is the newest member of the centennial class of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. That would be Bill Cowher.
Yeah, you know, finding out last night with you guys was really special. In these last 24 hours, less than 24 hours, I've heard from so many people from around the country, and I just say to you, I will get back to you. It may be a few days. I got a day job. I'm working right now these last 2 days, but thank you for everybody from the bottom of my heart. It's a special honor, and I've been very humbled by it.
You know, Coach, it was an unbelievable night for all of us to be a part of. And I want to say, much like watching that game last night between the Titans and of course, the Ravens, today's game between the Chiefs and the Texans, 2 great young quarterbacks. Here's the thing. Deshaun Watson, boy, he puts himself in trouble. He holds on to the football. He has 106 sacks over the last 2 years now. Good for them. No Chris Jones, the defensive tackle for the Kansas City Chiefs. Good for Deshaun. Will Fuller will be up, and he will be active for this game. But here's the thing. If I'm Steve Spagnuolo, the defensive coordinator of the Kansas City Chiefs, I don't have to get fancy. I just got to play zone. I got to come with a couple zone blitzes to try to confuse confuse Deshaun because you know he's going to have the ball.
Yeah.
And tell Terrell Suggs, when you get back there, make sure you get that man on the ground because that's when things really start amping up when you don't tackle him.
Yeah, well, listen, it's up to Bill Bryan to have the play calling on deck for Deshaun Watson. It's the wide receivers that makes his job easy. DeAndre Hopkins, he has the route running, the body control, the hands, and, of course, the size, man. I mean, his catch radius is like a garage door. You know, you mentioned Will Fuller. I mean, even with that groin, he has the speed, and I can't emphasize enough what that means to an offense when you have a guy that can open up any defense that you face. Just imagine if Roadrunner put on cleats and he had hands. Like, that's how fast he is. So that it makes the job of Kiki Cutesy, Kenny Stills, and Darren Fells, the tight end, much easier.
Well, you never got caught, that Roadrunner. I know that. But, you know, I'm going to talk about the Kansas City offense. Of course, Patrick Mahomes is a guy that leads it. And believe it or not, this offense has gotten better as the years gone along for a couple of reasons. One, teams about mid-year started taking away all the deep throws, and they were not making the adjustments. So Andy Reid, he changed his playbook a little. He gave Patrick Mahomes more short passes to call, and when teams dropped deep, they were able to drop it underneath. Now, it took Patrick Mahomes a little while to adjust too, but today, if the Houston Texans drop back there deep, he will throw it underneath and take those completions.
Let's just talk about Andy Reid. When you think about Andy Reid, 21 years in the National Football League, 6 AFC championships, possibly 7 next week. But think about this. New England loses, ooh, I get a first-round bye. All of a sudden, you get the Baltimore loses, ooh, I got home field. You start to wonder if fate and destiny are on the side of this man. And when you talk about Andy Reid, he's 4-1 in the playoffs coming off a bye. So, you know, he's a guy everyone loves. And you know what? Let's see what happens today.
And he does have a whole lot of folks cheering for him, Coach. You're right about that. All right, folks, now for more news and notes from around the league, including the latest on Patrick Mahomes' contract situation in Kansas City, we welcome in our NFL Today insider, Jason Lockenforer.
JB, Patrick Mahomes is about to get paid. It's only a matter of time. He and the Chiefs will begin discussing a record contract extension after the Super Bowl, sources said. There's every expectation that Mahomes banks at least $40 million a year. Yeah, and well over $100 million fully guaranteed, boom. The Texans and Deshaun Watson, they're seeking an extension as well, but likely after Mahomes resets the market. As for today's game, 3 injuries could dictate its outcome. Chiefs star defensive tackle Chris Jones, a late scratch with a calf injury, as Boom said. He picked that up in practice. That could be a big blow to their pass rush. J.J. Watt expects to play more than the 52 snaps he took last week in his first game back after tearing a pec muscle, but he's playing with a harness on his shoulder, and Will Fuller could end up being a decoy, if nothing else. The oft-injured receiver battling a groin injury. His availability may fluctuate through the game. And JB, Kevin Stefanski will be the new head coach of the Cleveland Browns a year after they passed him over to hire Freddie Kitchens.
Hey, Jason, as always, thank you for the insight on everything. And, folks, as we're all well aware, wildfires are devastating communities across Australia. As a matter of fact, we invite you to please help those affected by natural disasters like the Australia wildfires. Simply visit redcross.org.au for more information. CBS caters.
And there is, I guess, the potential $40 million man. He's Patrick Mahomes. He's only thrown for over 300 yards one of his last 6 games. The Chiefs happen to be 6-0 in those games.
Ooh, wow.
Coming up on the NFL Today, Deshaun Watson has already become one of the NFL's most clutch performers, and now he's ready to take the Texans to the next level. This week, Coach sat down with Andy Reid, and you won't want to miss what the Chiefs' head honcho had to say about superstar Patrick Mahomes. 2 of the biggest defensive stars of the last decade go head-to-head today in Kansas City as J.J. Watt and Terrell Suggs look to lead their defensive squads one step closer to the big game in Miami.
How great do you want to be?
That's all straight ahead on the NFL Today. The NFL Today on CBS Sports is powered by Ram Trucks, Motor Trend's back-to-back Truck of the Year.
Hey, everybody, how y'all doing? Before we get started, I just want to introduce y'all. We got the NFL rushing leader. If anybody got a problem with that, you come see me. We bout that. Big trust. Whoop, whoop. King Henry in the flesh. Whoop, whoop.
It's all jokes. It's all jokes.
And indeed, it was all jokes afterwards.
Awesome.
But Derrick Henry and the 6-seed Titans were not joking around, folks, as they shocked the top-seed Ravens and proved once again that they are a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, before I get to that, I want to introduce Coach, Coach, Bill Cowher, Billy, Super Bowl, Hall of Fame, Gold Jacket, Hall of Famer. It's going to be a big bus. Woo, woo. You feel me?
Come on, Bill, give me 5. That way.
He's just kidding, guys.
But you're right, though. You're right, though, JB. Derrick Henry had himself a night, just like he has been all season. He gets cooking towards the end of the year, but what he's been doing as of recently, he's proven that we can play old-school football and control the game. You control the ground, you can control the clock. You see him going up the field. He hits the right sideline. He has that speed to run away from you. He stiff-armed Earl Thomas in the first one right here. They run their own Heisman package with Mariota. He throws up the jump ball to Corey Davis. I mean, you have to appreciate the fact that he's doing it a very old school way. I mean, this is from a different era. Look at these 2 games. 34 rushes, 182 in the first one, and then 30 rushes, 195. If you think that he can't sustain this, then you're out of your mind. Sometimes being bigger and faster, it just works, Coach.
You know, you're talking about that's old school, but you know, it has stood the test of time, right? When you think about this guy, and I think when you think about this game, John Harbaugh said it after the game. They won the battle of the trenches. Yep. You're talking about both sides of the ball. You're talking about an offensive line that pushed him off the line of scrimmage. We saw Scout for the left guard, monster day. And you sit there on the other side, Daquan Jones, Jarrell Casey suddenly has shown up, and you're talking about Jeffrey Simmons. You're talking about this team is built from the inside out, and you know what? Like I said, they imposed themselves last night.
Yeah, what a shock when you got Mike Vrabel as a head coach the way they play. I thought they'd be like a spread offense, but no, it is about honking that football up in there and watching Derrick Henry. I'm going to say it again. It brings back childhood memories. I watched Jim Brown growing up, and he reminds me of Jim Brown. And listen, they moved a big defensive line all over the field last night. That offensive line for the Tennessee Titans was magnificent. I'd like to give them all each of their names, but they were all good. And here's the other thing, too. Derrick Henry's like a quarterback that goes out and makes the perfect read where to throw the ball. He picks the right hole to run every single time.
Hey, you know what? No matter who they play next week in the AFC Championship game, I think he'll still have a big game because neither one of these teams are great against the run. But the other thing I will say, Arthur Smith, that's right. He's the offensive coordinator of the Titans. Does anybody know that? Well, Mr. Smith and family, let me tell you, you called a whale of a football game last night. That jump pass that Derrick Henry was awesome. And how about Dean Pease, the defensive coordinator that we were talking about prior to the game last night, going back to Baltimore and be able to inflict as much misery as he did to their offensive line, especially on 4th and 1. They stopped them twice, and to me, that's where the game turned around in the favor of the Titans.
JB, have you ever seen 2 quarterbacks and receiver talk so glowingly of a running game?
I know that's music to your ears.
Yeah, with all that said, though, it's all about Pat Mahomes throwing the rock, baby. There he is, looking to get into a second AFC Championship game. You know what?
I know we'd come back to reality.
No doubt that the Houston defense will take its cue, Nate, from a distinguished leader, that being 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, J.J. Watt, and will continue to shine a spotlight on defense in this round of Golden Moments brought to you by McDonald's. So the question is, which defense will have the golden touch in today's showdown, Coach?
Well, I'm going to look at the Kansas City Chiefs. I think one guy in particular, that's Tyrone Matthew, the Honey Badger. When you talk about that defense with Steve Spagnuolo, you're talking about a safety who plays near the line of scrimmage. You better know where he's lying because he'll cover the slot, he'll blitz, he'll drop back into cover. He's a very smart player. Reminds me a lot of Troy Polamalu, not afraid to take chances.
Yeah, he's brought a lot of juice to that defense, no doubt about it. You know, you look on the other side, the Texans defense, and Honey Badger can play the slot too, but J.J. Watt, what is he? He is a disruptor. He got double-teamed by the Buffalo Bills many times last week. What's that do? It creates opportunities for the other guys to have one-on-ones, and, of course, he can win his own battles himself. And then Bradley Roby, the cornerback who they got in free agency from the Denver Broncos, he has been a steal, a great man-to-man coverage guy, good tackler, great pickup.
And, Phil, you mentioned those other guys. One of those individuals is Whitney Merciless, who stepped up big. I talked to him a couple weeks ago. I said, what did you tell your team when J.J. Watt went down? He said, we can't cry over spilled milk. He went on to lead his team in sacks. Zach Cunningham stepped up, led his team in tackles in 137. DJ Weir, he leads the team with 13 QB hits. They have to go out there and collectively bring to the table what J.J. Watt brought.
You know, without Chris Jones playing for the Kansas City Chiefs, it's got to be Terrell Suggs and Frank Clark. They're going to have to pick up the pass rush pressure. That's one of the reasons why they went out and they got Suggs when he was on waivers, when he was let go by Arizona. And Frank Clark, obviously, he has sacks in 4 of the last 5 games for the Kansas City Chiefs. This is all about keeping Deshaun Watson in the pocket.
Yeah.
Even the Buffalo Bills tried to do that last week. He is so competitive that a play never ends for Deshaun Watson. So it's going to be imperative on these guys to get back there and keep him in the pocket as best they can.
And as much as you guys are on top of team tendencies and the like, I love doing this part about the X matchup. Who might be the X factor?
Oh, my gosh, there's so many in the game, so many guys that can make plays, but I like Travis Kelce. You know why? Because he's a tight end. He's really good. He's fast. He's got great moves, but he's in the middle of the field. So he can go down the field, he can go inside, outside, and he gets to go against linebackers and even safeties. Really, no, and a lot of times, even if you put a corner on him, it's a mismatch. He's had over 1,200 yards catching the football, 5 touchdowns. Travis Kelce, always got to keep an eye on him.
But I'm going to go back to the running back position. That's Damian Williams. I know Damian Williams, he may not be out there warming up yet, but you talk about him and LaShawn McCoy. When he has come back, he has given them something in the running game and also in the screen game. That's been a big part of what Andy Reid likes to do. And you talk about playing zone, and you're talking about boom on the defensive side for the Houston Texans. I think if they do play that zone, the running back position for Andy Reid, you know, stay patient and run the ball. And like I said, the big part of the screen game as well.
Yeah, Coach, you mentioned Tyrann Mathieu, and that's my X factor. He's one of those individuals just like McDonald's fries. You know, he's good with any meal. He's good with any defense. You can play him on the outside, play him on the inside. You can send him on blitzes. I mean, here's the thing. He may give up a play or two because he's the most targeted safety in the league, but he also will make you pay. He has 4 interceptions, and if he gets his hand on the rock, he might take it back to the house like old school Ed Reed would.
You said McDonald's fries, and Phil almost came out of the seat. I will say this, for me, it's Will Fuller, because I just don't know how healthy he really is. And when he is at the top end of his game, you guys were talking about him earlier in the show, he is like the road runner for the Houston Texans, kind of like their version of Tyreek Hill. But how deep in this game can he go? If he can go 4 quarters and be the guy that we all know that he's capable of being, then he is going to be a difference maker. If he is going to not make it through the game, and let's say he only makes it through like the first half or whatever, then I think that is a big loss for them in that offense.
You know, JB, you know what I noticed? I thought we had a rule around here. It just caught my eye that we had to wear ties on the set.
And?
Well, I don't know. I'm just trying to understand.
So Bill is an exception today because of all this happening?
I just was bringing it up.
Okay, just observation.
The Hall of Fame will change you, man.
Okay. Oh, he can do what he wants.
Since Nate has talked about the McDonald's rivalries, if you will, hey, this might be a Happy Meal. I'm throwing it out to you right now. For more on this heavyweight showdown, let's send it out live to Kansas City. Jim Nance and Tony Romo.
All right, thank you, fellas. Congratulations, Coach. That was some thrilling moment last night to watch that. Here we are at Arrowhead. It's brisk, as you might expect in January. And, Tony, this Kansas City Chiefs team's been waiting for a whole year since losing in overtime to New England last year in the AFC Championship. Andy Reid trying today to get another step closer to what many think could be a great run for this team for years to come. And Patrick Mahomes and all.
Yeah, because when you have a Patrick Mahomes, you can win. And they were right at the doorstep last year of going to the Super Bowl. And Patrick Mahomes, little injury this year, come back. He's playing great football right now. Today, the opportunity in front of you. I mean, Houston, Tennessee, they have to love their chances, even though both of these 2 football teams are really good.
And both of these teams that you're talking about, Houston, and if next week it's Tennessee, beat the Chiefs in the regular season. By the way, the first matchup this year, which was October 13th here, Chris Jones, there he is warming up earlier today. He missed the game because of injury. They worked him out today, calf injury. He's a scratch. He's inactive, and that's big.
Oh, it's huge. I mean, what was it, 2 plays left 2 days ago in the practice? This is their best defensive player, and they've got a couple good ones. He's a monster in the middle. You have to account for him. I think this is really a big deal.
Bill O'Brien's team really ran the football effectively when they were here in October, and Carlos Hyde had his best game of the season. But everybody's still a buzz about what Deshaun Watson did last week to lead them with that come-from-behind victory against Buffalo.
I mean, it's so great. The young quarterbacks in the National Football League, you see Watson put his team on his back there at the end, make play after play to really come back and beat Buffalo in that game. And having these two quarterbacks today, it's a special time in the National Football League, and I think you're going to see a great game today.
Watson's thrilled to have this guy back from the groin injury. He's kept him out a couple of weeks. Will Fuller is up. He is active, and that's big news for Houston.
We just talked about Chris Jones going down. That's a difference maker. This guy is the difference maker. When he's on that football field, you defend this team differently.
And what did you make of JJ's return last week?
Well, I tell you, to come back and do that, no one comes back that quickly. And the big sack, I mean, that place erupted, and that energy, it just resonated with that football team. You saw it the rest of the game, and I think today he's going to be even better than he was last week.
There's going to be some energy here at Arrowhead. There's no question about that. That's the latest from the field. JB, back to you and the crew in New York.
All right, Jim and Tony, and we know that energy includes you two. We're looking forward to the call of the game. Meanwhile, are you ready for the adventure of a lifetime? On January 17th, join Robert Downey Jr. and his animal friends in the new epic adventure, the comedy movie Doolittle. Here's a special look. We are just about a half hour away from kickoff as you take a look at the two offensive-minded coaches, Bill O'Brien and Andy Reid, who are going through their final preparations. Both will be leaning heavily on their skilled quarterbacks to help lead them one step closer to a Super Bowl appearance as we go inside the pregame HQ delivered by Domino's.
I woke up today, I feel good, I feel good. See me smiling, cause I feel good, I feel good.
Razzle dazzle, Mahomes right on the money.
Watson the shake and bake.
He's special. This Chiefs offense is just getting sassy, man.
These clothes, I feel good, I feel good. Everybody knows I feel good, in the mirror. I feel good, I feel good. I see me clearer, cause I feel good, I feel good.
The magician does it again. Mahomes magic. Go, let's go, let's go, let's go.
The next generation of quarterbacks.
All right, talking about Deshaun Watson, Bill, he's a talented quarterback, and I'll tell you what, they're never out of the game as long as he's in there.
Deshaun Watson, remember from being at Clemson, winning a national championship, this guy is dynamic, Phil. You look at 36 touchdowns, 8 of which were done by rushing, and you know what? He's probably best at the late stages of a game, 6 game-winning drives. Let's just go back to week 6 against the Kansas City Chiefs. You see him right here. He's in the pocket, but he's very, very comfortable outside the pocket. He's got the read, and when he gets outside the pocket, you look, he's looking downfield for receivers. If you get a one-on-one situation with him, you see him right here, he's going to win that, puts the ball in the end zone. Let's go to week 15. Here's a game-winning drive against these Texans. You're going to see right here, play action, boom. I get out of the pocket. It's natural. It's artistic. It's accurate with the throws. It's good to see. You get out of your lane, let me just take off right here up the field. He's athletic again, does a good job of not taking a hit. And obviously last week, play of the year. There's a way in overtime to make a play right there. Again, leads him on to the next game. This guy, Deshaun Watson, more comfortable really out of the pocket than in the pocket. These two quarterbacks, this is going to be a fun game to watch.
Daring and talented, I'll say that for sure. Not a very good segue, but we'll throw it over to Nate and Boomer.
Oh, we're not daring and talented? Okay, I see what you did there. Here's the thing. Pat Mahomes, he's most at home when he's in his zone. What makes him so good?
He's fearless, and he expects to be here. You know, I watched these quarterbacks. Last night we saw Lamar Jackson. Last week it was, the quarterback for Buffalo.
Yeah, Josh Allen.
Josh Allen, excuse me.
No doubt.
Both of those guys played at a frenetic pace.
Yep.
Hey, Pat Mahomes never plays at a frenetic pace, and the reason for that is because he always has Travis Kelce right next to him.
Yep.
And we talk about the short passing game that Andy Reid's going to have to employ when you play against these big zone defenses. He and Tyreek Hill going to catch a lot of short passes. McCall Hardman, wide receiver screens. Passes out of the backfield to LaShawn McCoy, to Tyreek Hill, also to Damian Williams. And Patrick Mahomes has readjusted his game the last couple weeks. So I never see him ever lose calmness during the game. He's always in the game and is always making the right decision. And I don't think he's ever played a bad game.
You're right about that. And not to mention the Houston Texans defense, they are the worst red zone defense in the NFL. Second worst third down defense. And guess who's the best third down offense? These guys. Nice. And it's not just when he drops back and he plays traditional quarterback. It's also when he negotiates the pocket, extends the play, and now he's throwing no-look passes, sidearms, because that gives us as receivers the chance to run secondary routes. And like I say all the time, I don't care how good you are in that secondary. If I'm running 2 routes in one play, you're not going to stop me from scoring a touchdown.
How many quarterbacks do you know that can drop back 20 yards to complete a ball 20 yards down the field for the 20-yard completion, throwing it 40 yards? Well, this is one of the very few that has ever been able to do that, and he does it like it's nothing.
Yeah, he's a master chef. When he gets cooking, everybody eats. And speaking of that, Tyreek Hill, who goes by Cheetah on Twitter, and as you know, Cheetah is the fastest land animal. And you know what? The 21 40-yard touchdowns is proof.
The NFL Today is sponsored by State Farm. Talk to an agent today at 1-800-STATE-FARM. Verizon, the network more people rely on. And by Ram Trucks, Motor Trend's back-to-back Truck of the Year.
Hey guys, there's Carlos Hyde. He was traded from the Chiefs to the Texans right before the start of this season. Paid big dividends for Bill O'Brien with his first ever 1,000-yard season in his 6-year career.
And there's DeAndre Hopkins, admittedly said he's not the fastest receiver in the world, but yet and still 3 straight 1,000-yard seasons. I call him DeAndre Anthony Hopkins because he's eating DBs alive.
Oh my gosh, there's Tyrann Mathieu. He might be guarding DeAndre Hopkins today. He plays safety. He plays the slot receiver on third downs, and he has a good partner back there on third downs on the other side in Kendall Fuller.
And there's Big Red. That's Andy Reid. Remember, he's 4-1 off the byes in the playoffs. And I went to Kansas City this week to talk to Andy about his quest to get the Chiefs to the Super Bowl and about his relationship with his gifted quarterback, Patrick Mahomes.
When the ball comes your way, you make a play.
Mahomes
On your side, touchdown!
Mahomes, he high steps it in for the touchdown.
Kansas City!
It was supposed to be like real slow. I run pretty fast.
I run scared, so I run fast enough.
You got this young quarterback, and I remember getting Ben. I think for me it was year 13. It's like, wow, it's kind of like invigorates you, doesn't it? Kind of makes you feel good, right? I mean, doesn't it?
Sure.
I mean,
he's young, he's excited. I mean, you see how he plays. I mean, he fired up every day, brings that energy. You just love being around him. You said it the best. I mean, it keeps you young for about a minute. That's right.
Do you have to at times pull him back a little bit? Like when you see, Patrick doing a no-look, it's great. We don't need to do this every time. Do you have to kind of like reel it in maybe just a little?
He's actually pretty good with it. He's had about 10 really good ones, and then he had the one bad one.
Oh, no look. Should have looked.
Yeah, no look, no completion.
Do you encourage it at all? I mean,
I just let him play.
You let him play?
I let him play.
You don't try to harness him?
I really haven't. I just say, listen, within this, let your personality show on it. So I'm going to give you this, and then you take it and do it your way. And then if that one doesn't work, hey, man, I got about 200 more coming for you. Let's try those.
That's great.
Mahomes throws on the run for the end zone. It's a touchdown.
That is like a video game.
Hey, I'm going to take all the credit for that.
You run the quarterback sneak against the Denver Broncos, and Patrick goes down.
Yeah.
And it looks like he is hurt.
And they are checking the right leg of Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, no.
And they come over and say he dislocated his kneecap. What's going through your head?
At the moment, I just go, all right, we're on to the next guy. Because we have to be. I mean, we're right in the middle of this game. Most of all, I got to see, with a pretty extreme injury, his want to play.
Right.
Never missed a practice. Even though he couldn't run, he never missed a snap out there. He took the scout team snaps.
Does it make you start thinking a little bit more about, wow, do I call the game a little bit differently now because of that?
Well, it did. I would tell you probably early it did. Yeah, because he wasn't quite as mobile as what he was. I didn't call another sneak.
Have you called another sneak?
No, I haven't called another sneak.
Will you call another sneak?
There might be one.
And it looks like the Chiefs are the number 2 seed.
How about those?
21 years, 15 times in the playoffs. But you haven't been to the top. You haven't been the last one standing. It's never too late. I proved that. In my 14th year, at some point, I got in the playoffs. I said, you know what? I'm going to take some risk. I'm going to do some things unorthodox. unconventional. Did you feel that way or not at this point?
Well, I can't go by every game. I get accused of that, so I'm not gonna change. I'm not hesitating. There's no hesitation there.
You don't think twice about it in the playoffs. You got there, and you want to make sure you don't forget how you got there.
Yeah, and plus you're in the moment.
Right.
So in the moment, you're trying to rip the other guy's heart out, right? I mean, that's what you're trying to do. So you're really not thinking about, man, I've never done this or I've never done that.
I want you to take this right here. Look at your last 4 playoff games. It's just something that stands out there. It says 33 rushes, and that's the win. My advice, friend, have you been together for a long time?
Run the ball?
You're on the ball a little bit. You got Damian Williams back.
I'm telling you. Right? We might have to do a little. Tell Houston, man, we're coming. We're running.
Shake them. Let it roll. You're the best.
Oh, man.
You know, the one thing about Andy Reid, and I talk about his leadership, this guy can relate to any generation on any level about anything. And I think that's the biggest thing I would say about Andy Reid. As a player, you would enjoy playing for him. He's real. He's honest. I love the guy, you know, and I've been with him and coached against him. And, you know, down in my heart, I mean, this man deserves an opportunity to stand on top of that.
Well, I want everybody out there to realize what we go through here. If he's coaching Andy Reid, what do you think he's doing to us? That's one thing. But you said it, Bill. He can adapt to whatever talent he has on the field, and he has shown it many times. And think about the quarterbacks, how different they were. He had Donovan McNabb in Philadelphia, great job. Alex Smith comes in, a whole different style. And now you got Patrick Mahomes, and boom, he clicks with all of them.
You know, this is a league where the coaches and players are sometimes egomaniacs. And in my history, being around offensive coordinators and head coaches, they want their players to adjust to their genius. It's like, you know what? I've been in this game long enough. The way I call it, the way I see it is the way it's supposed to be done. Guys like yourself, guys like Andy Reid, and some of the brains that we have in this league that are good and at the top level, they adjust to their players. And that's what I've seen in Andy Reid. Just think about what he's done in the past couple of years with the talent that he has.
How about the egomaniacs at this desk? Take a look at this. I'll tell you, it's awesome. Take a look at these numbers. Take a look at these career accomplishments. I think it's easy to say that everybody in the league has something nice to say about Andy Reid. That's how much respect there is out there for him. But how about Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, and Deshaun Watson and what they have done for their coaches? And even John Harbaugh said it about Lamar and what he has done for Baltimore. Just energizes the whole entire building, kind of like a guy by the name of Ben Roethlisberger once did for an older coach in Pittsburgh, who now is going to the Hall of Fame. So thank you, Ben.
I remember that.
You're right.
By the way, Andy Reid owes me.
Why is that?
We had talked when he was in Philadelphia. Whoever lost the most weight for at least 6 weeks will wear a body tight, the tight outfit.
You beat him?
Oh, yeah, and he hasn't put the tights on yet.
We're going to talk to him next week.
It wouldn't be a good look with either one of us. It wouldn't be a good look.
I don't know if I want to see that, JB.
Hey, folks, let's shift gears now to the NFC Divisional round showdown between the Seahawks and the Packers at Lambeau, where, by the way, the forecast has improved. And for more on that, let's go out to our reporter. By the way, did you see Melanie Collins, how she was handling the cold out there before she came on air?
Oh, yeah.
She was grooving. Oh, my goodness. Take it away, Melanie.
Thanks, JB. Good afternoon, guys. It is actually a beautiful day in Green Bay, Wisconsin today. The sun has been out all day, so all that talk about 6 to 12 inches of snow overnight, much to do about nothing. We didn't get an ounce of precipitation overnight. Forecast for kickoff 5:40 p.m. Eastern time. We're looking at 21 degrees Fahrenheit, very light winds, and the possibility for some light snow beginning late in the second half of the game. Luckily for Russell Wilson and the Seahawks, they got a taste of the cold last week in Philadelphia, where he had ice in his veins. It only took him 18 completions to throw for 325 yards. He added another 45 on the ground, and much of that due in part to his growing chemistry with rookie DK Metcalf, who's coming off the best playoff debut by a wide receiver ever. For the Packers, you just cannot understate how impactful running back Aaron Jones has been this season. He's finally being utilized in the run game and the pass game in Matt LaFleur's system. And the result has been a balanced offensive attack that no longer has to rely on the heroics of Aaron Rodgers and his arm. I would expect a big day out of Aaron Jones today against this 26th ranked Seahawks run defense. JV, back to you guys.
Hey, Melody, thank you so much. Nate Burleson says he wants to find out about some of those moves, by the way. Hey, look, don't care. Enjoy the game. Meanwhile, we are getting...
teach me a few.
Oh, absolutely. Hey, folks, we're getting closer to kickoff of our matchup between the Texans and the Chiefs.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Everybody, anxious moments right before the game. Get ready for it. It's going to be fun to watch.
The NFL Today on CBS Sports is powered by Ram Trucks, Motor Trend's back-to-back Truck of the Year.
My colleagues are all familiar with playoff action. They're counting down the kickoff in Kansas City, just moments away from the Texans and Chiefs showdown. And it will be before a rocking Chiefs kingdom at Arrowhead Stadium, home field, and a spot in the AFC Championship.
Bill O'Brien right there, JB. That's Bill O'Brien. He made a bunch of offseason moves. Jeremy Tunsil, got Duke Johnson, Carlos Hyde. I tell you what, they paid off. He finds himself in the divisional round.
And back here inside of Studio 43, time now to deliver our picks with game day delivery presented by Amazon Echo. Texans or Chiefs, and the final score.
You know, the Texans came in and they won an Arrowhead in Week 6. And Tyrann Mathieu, the former Texan, the now Chief safety, said, you know what, guys, they were celebrating on our field. He made it personal this last week. He wants to get back at these guys. In case of revenge, I'm going to take the Chiefs 34-24.
All right, I'll echo that. I feel like Pat Mahomes is going to score faster than Amazon can deliver packages. I'm going with KC 31-24.
Remember back in Week 6, the Houston Texans ran for 194 yards. This is not the same defense. It's gotten better as the season's going on. I'm taking Kansas City 31-17.
Can't imagine the Texans run the ball like they did in that Week 6 game, but you never know. I'm taking the Kansas City Chiefs 27, Houston 21, and a late touchdown by the Houston Texans to make it close.
I know you guys have tons of notes in preparing for this. You've watched a lot of film. Give me your final thoughts, Phil.
Well, my final thoughts, just the excitement in the moment when you walk out in the field right now, when you go outside and you hit that field, it doesn't get any better than that. That's why all the hard work, the misery, the losing, adversity is worth it. Just for that feeling.
You know, you may not talk about the specifics, but I guarantee in the meeting this morning, there was discussions about, you know what, whoever wins this game is playing at home for the AFC Championship game. That becomes a huge motivational force right there, something you can't lose sight of. And again, as I said before, you have to wonder about destiny and fate for Andy Reid, because it seems like all the cards are aligned properly and the stars are aligning accordingly.
Yeah, Coach, you make a good point about being that close. When you first get in the playoffs, there's that initial excitement. And then once you realize how close you are to making a Super Bowl, it's almost like the anxiety overwhelms you. There's going to be guys out there that are ready for the big stage, the bright lights. And there's going to be some individuals, just call it what it is, not to use your last name, but they're going to cower in the moments. Let's see who shines bright on the biggest stage.
You're not going to believe the Chiefs are sitting at home watching last night's Baltimore Ravens performance. And that was a word of warning. Do not take anything for granted. Play your game. Don't get pushed around. Certainly don't get intimidated. And don't play at a frenetic pace. Just play the game that you've played all year long. And I suspect that that's exactly what will happen with Patrick Mahomes.
You know, no matter what, I think it's going to be an exciting game. You know why? Because we have so many unbelievable playmakers on both sides of these teams, so it should be fun to watch.
I tell you what, it's hard enough to win an Arrowhead, but to go into Arrowhead twice in the same season, that would be some feat if the Houston Texans were able to pull it off.
No doubt about that. Hey, folks, kickoff of the AFC Divisional Playoff. We are anxious to see it get underway, and it is just moments away.
That's right. The Houston Texans, Kansas City Chiefs coming up next. We'll see you at halftime.